Okay, yo, subscribe for a fucking cookie, man. Totally not cap. Okay, yo, so today we'll be reacting to a video called, I got pregnant with a high school student.
911, what is your emergency?
Yes, help me. Okay, but this is a very fucking weird title, so I guess, you don't know what the video is about until you fucking watch it. So yeah, let's watch this fucking video, okay?
Laura, 35 years old. My marriage is a big mistake, and unfortunately, the way I fixed it made it worse. Now I have to bear what I have done. People who looked at my life often thought that I was a lucky woman. Not only did I own a large house, but I also had a talented husband. But they didn't know what I had to endure behind that good image. Lucas and I had been married for more than 5 years, but we still had no children. I always blame myself for that because my womb is not normal.
Yeah, man, I was not able to get pregnant, so I banged a fucking high schooler. Oh my god, man, I'm not liking this video already.
Despite having tried many methods for a long time, none of them worked. Over time, my husband started to become impatient. He no longer wanted to try new measures and always tried to avoid the topic. Because of that, we often quarreled, making the atmosphere in the family very suffocating. But even if Lucas lost hope, I still wouldn't give up. Every month, I regularly injected myself with ovulation stimulants. It was really painful and had many side effects such as nausea or shortness of breath, but to protect my family's happiness, I accepted that readily. And not only my love life, my career was also in trouble. The high school I recently transferred to was a nightmare. Students here had no respect for teachers and often caused trouble. The worst among them was Anselm, the delinquent in my homeroom class.
Yeah, why the fuck does Anselm look like a character from Call of Duty, man? It's like if it's not Call of Duty, it's Apex Legends. And why does Anselm wear a mask? Like, bro, what?
He always drove me crazy with his pranks. Right in our first class, Anselm was late. Even though he was warned, he didn't show any repentant attitude. He even challenged me by putting both feet on the table. I immediately expelled that rebellious student from my classroom. Our first impressions didn't go well, and the next few times weren't much better. I always caught sight of Anselm while he was smoking with his friends or sneaking away from school. I was hoping my punishment would change him, but instead it made him hate me even more. Anselm always opposed me. One time, to take revenge on me, he broke into the teacher's office and stole the exam papers of the subject I taught and handed it out to all students. As a result, I got reprimanded by the principal. They assumed that I exposed the exam. An investigation was conducted very quickly after that. It was found that Anselm was the culprit. I was very angry and wanted him to be punished for his actions. But then I accidentally discovered the secret behind Anselm's mischief. That day, I asked to meet with his parents to talk about their son. Despite waiting for a long time, no one came to meet me.
Yeah, maybe because you told the man who actually hates you. It's like, bro, like, do you expect the dude who actually hates you to really bring his family down just to talk to the person who he absolutely hates? Man, you just said this in the last clip, bro. Like, what do you want us to believe? He loves you or hates you, man? Come on.
Through the words of my colleagues, I found out that Anselm's family was not happy. His father was unemployed and an alcoholic, and his mother had left home for a long time. They never cared to show up at school when the teachers asked to meet them. That is probably the reason why Anselm was always naughty. After hearing that story, I gradually became softer and cared more about him. I believe kindness could change this rebellious student.
Yes, and then he got me pregnant, and then that's the end of the video. Come on, man.
Despite my best efforts, Anselm still had a grudge against me. He was always annoyed when I tried to help, until one day when I was on my way home from work, I saw Anselm being beaten by a group of fierce teenagers. They repeatedly hit his leg with a cane. Anselm weakly cowered while taking each blow. "Stop immediately, or else I'll call the police," I shouted at the thugs. They quickly ran away, leaving the poor boy lying helplessly on the ground.
Yes, man, because you were actually so terrifying. It's like, yeah, man, because a high school teacher is so terrifying, man.
I rushed to him and brought him to the hospital. Anselm's wounds were quite bad. He broke his right leg and got bruises all over his body. After he was bandaged, I was about to report what I saw to the police and call Anselm's father to come pick him up, but Anselm firmly told me not to. Seeing my confused expression, he hesitantly explained everything. It turned out Anselm's father owed the gangsters a large sum of money. Because he didn't pay on time, they beat his son to give him a warning.
Yeah, bro, you would definitely be dead if this was wrong. Okay, man. It's like, yeah, man, no explanation, dead.
Anselm was afraid that reporting to the police would make those gangsters hurt his father. Even though he was a horrible dad, Anselm still loved him a lot. I sighed and looked at my poor student. After that, I suggested that I would take Anselm to school every day. Since I promised him that I wouldn't call the police, it was the only way for me to protect my student. At first, Anselm was shy, but since there was no other way, he reluctantly agreed. Since that day, Anselm stopped being hostile towards me. He opened up and shared more with me. Thanks to that, I realized that this boy had many good qualities. But when I thought that things were getting better, something horrible happened. That day, while I was driving Anselm home, I spotted my husband being intimate with a woman and was walking with her into a hotel. I panicked because minutes ago he called me and said that he was in the middle of an important meeting. Turned out, because I couldn't give him a child, he cheated on me with someone else. It was probably the reason why he always made excuses to go outside. I was shocked and unable to bear it. I burst out crying like a baby on the steering wheel. Apparently, Anselm had noticed everything. He waited until I calmed down and called a taxi to take me home. As soon as I entered the house, I rushed to the wine cabinet. I tried to drink a lot to forget the bad things that just happened. Anselm worried and tried to stop me. With tears in my eyes, I confided to him about my bad marriage, about the things I had to endure to protect it. I loved my husband so much, but unexpectedly he was a cheater.
Okay, is this supposed to make you like a better person than your husband? It's like, I don't think you realize, bitch, you are cheating on your husband with a high school student. It's like, bro, you are even worse than him.
Anselm suddenly hugged me and gave me a passionate kiss. While I was in a daze, not understanding what had just happened, he suddenly confessed his feelings.
My boy Anselm, you can have any girl in the fucking world, but you decided to be with your teacher? How the fuck is this not a case yet? FBI, get on your grind, yo.
Anselm said that since the night I rescued him from the fight, he had developed special feelings for me. It was not the feelings between teachers and students, but the affection between men and women. For the first time in his life, Anselm experienced this feeling. His sweet words, combined with the alcohol I had in my body, made me dizzy. Anselm and I crossed our boundaries and slept with each other. After that day, I knew I made a huge mistake. I condemned my husband for cheating on me, and now I'm just the same. But Anselm thought the complete opposite way. At school, he actively approached me and constantly advised me to leave my husband to start a new relationship with him. But Lucas and I went through a lot together. Deep in my heart, I still hoped to save my marriage with him. So for the next several weeks, I avoided Anselm and even took a long break from teaching to avoid him. As for Lucas, I pretended not to know about his cheating and behaved like normal. But until one day, I found out I was pregnant. I burst into tears of joy when I could finally become a mother. But then that joy quickly disappeared when I realized the child was not my husband's. Based on recent events, Anselm is definitely my baby's father. It was only because I could not have a baby that my husband had an affair. This baby would help me regain his love, as long as he didn't know the truth behind it. After pondering for a while, I decided to use lies to hide everything. I would not tell the truth to either Anselm or my husband. I thought it was the right thing to do, and my life would get better. But no, that would never happen.
Yeah, man, no shit, because you're gonna have a child. What are you gonna do? Kill the fucking baby, bro?
That evening, while Lucas was in the living room, I gave him the pregnancy test and announced that I was pregnant. I waited eagerly to see my husband's joy, but Lucas just sat quietly in his chair, staring at the pregnancy test. "Are you sure?" he asked me with a serious face. "Yes," I hesitantly answered Lucas. "Well, then it's not my child." Lucas's words startled me.
Yo, why the fuck are you surprised? It's like homie has not been sleeping with you. So why do you expect him to think that it's his? Like, did you expect him to just jump into tears of joy? Like, man, why are you surprised, bro?
My whole body was shaking. How did he know that? While I was unable to speak, my husband calmly explained everything. It turned out a few years ago, while we were trying a new method of pregnancy, Lucas discovered he had infertility. The reason why we were unable to have children was not because of me, but because of him. But instead of telling me that, Lucas hid everything and suffered quietly. When I asked him about the woman I saw, my husband was surprised at first, but then confessed everything. The real reason why he cheated on me wasn't because we were unable to have a kid. It was simply because he didn't love me anymore. I fell apart.
What the fuck do you mean you fell apart? Homeboy should be falling apart. He just realized his wife got smashed by a high school student. What the fuck do you mean, bro?
Knowing the truth, I didn't expect that there were so many secrets between my husband and me. Our marriage was indeed a mistake. Right on that night, Lucas and I decided to get divorced. Lucas moved out the same night too. He left, leaving me alone in a large empty house. During the saddest moment, I thought of committing suicide. I held a knife in my hand and intended to put an end to my life. At that moment, my doorbell rang. Anselm came to look for me because I always avoided him at school. I told him about the baby and the truth about my husband. Anselm comforted me and said he was ready to take responsibility. For him, this child is the greatest thing in the world. Children are not supposed to be born to satisfy their parents or become a tool to save a marriage. Anselm's words woke me up. I realized how stupid I was. My child is innocent. He deserves to be born and nurtured with all my greatest love. But you know, Anselm is just a teenager. Our love affair was a mistake, and I don't want him to be held responsible for it. In the end, I made a decision that I think was the only way out of all this trouble. The next morning, I quit my job. I sold my house and moved to a new location. I kept this as a secret from Anselm. I raised and nurtured the child alone. Now my son is 1 year old. He's strong and very obediently. Someday, I'll tell him about his biological father, and I hope that everything will turn out okay.
Yeah, man, he will actually be happy when he finds out that his mom slept with a fucking high schooler. But yeah, man, that's kind of like the end of the video. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe. And turn on notifications so you do not miss an upload. So yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.